299th edition of the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast. In Nashville, Tennessee, I'm Matt Perkins. And a double comeback route across the Harpeth River from me here in the Music City, it's our own offensive coordinator, the coach, Corey Burton.
One of the nastiest routes of all time. It's a double move. You come back at 5, come back at 10. We called it a plus route, actually. I might actually use that this weekend.
Well, you guys put up a 50 burger last weekend, so hopefully you guys can do that again in this coming week. But we can't get started without the third amigo in the second city, a man who spends his well-deserved time off torturing himself by going to Iowa Hawkeye away games. It's our third amigo in the second city and our intrepid blogger from Big Ten and Counting, Josh Cook.
I survived Champaign, but more importantly, the Padres won a playoff series. Yeah, now they face their nemesis, the Dodgers, who are always
y'all dismantled the Mets. Y'all did the Lord's work.
Yeah, for those of you who are new to the show, welcome. Josh is the only Iowa Hawkeye / San Diego Padre crossover fan that you are going to find here in the United States of America.
I got stories for why I have my fandom, but this is neither the time nor the place. Real quick, Champaign review. First time I've been there for a football game. I've been to a basketball game. Memorial Stadium, really nice old school style, like Cracker Box Stadium, where you're right up on the field. Jumbotron looked great. The exterior facade looked great. Concession stands a little slow. They got a few things to work out. They're doing some touchscreen digital ordering, and it was a little slow. And then kind of an interesting thing, just based on the age of the stadium, we're in row 29, but had a really low angle to the field. It's like it wasn't built steep enough.
Yeah, kind of like a big house feel, right?
Yeah, if I go again, which I would, it's 2.5 hours away from Chicago. It's easy to get down there. I would actually look for a seat in the upper deck to have a little bit more of a watch the plays develop, which is my type of fan that I am. But we were right behind the Ferentz sideline, so I whenever it got quiet, I yelled out really loud, "Fire your son!" And then also, just kind of a weird quirk. We were walking around the stadium. We had found our seats, but we hadn't done much of a tour of the stadium. So I'm walking around and we get to a part that's like cut off. You can't cross these ropes because the team is about to go from their fancy football facility into their locker room. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. We'll watch them come in. And Beelum was leading the team, and I'm in the front row. I'm right next to the ropes. So as he's going by me, I go, please hire Brian. And honest to God, he had such a straight face that I can only imagine that he was laughing on the inside and doing one of those things where you like kind of bite your cheek, where you know you can't laugh or show any emotion because he needs to stay focused. But I think the oddity of having one random Iowa fan in this mess of Illinois fans, and I said it in such a pleading voice. I was like, please hire Brian.
I mean, Josh, I will give you points for innovation.
Yeah.
So, well, before we get into a unique episode today, I want to remind you guys that we are presented by betonline.ag. And as everyone here knows, football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all of your football betting needs this season. The latest odds, matchup info, players' news, game trends, and more. BetOnline continues to be the number one source for all your sports wagering info, with live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Plus, you can also bet on your other favorite sports and events: MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, golf, esports, you name it, they've got it. Head on over to betonline.ag or use your mobile device to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure you use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts. Gentlemen, today we are going to do something a bit different. We're not going to really talk about last week. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit, but it is time for some midterm reports. So we are going to, spend the bulk of our day sort of taking a big picture look at the season so far and what we have seen. Because it's been, let's be frank, a pretty wild first half of 2022. And I think that there are a ton of really interesting storylines going on, things that we did and did not expect to see. But I'm interested in the stories. So I'm going to actually open up by asking Coach, what do you think is the most interesting storyline so far in the 2022 season?
Well, one of them to me has got to be the Big 12 and just the parity of the Big 12. You know, you have TCU with a brand new coach. I mean, he's not new to being a head coach, but he's new to the TCU Horned Frogs. You got Lance Leipold with the Jayhawks. They're 5-1 right now. They're ranked for the first time since 2006. Uh, the Bruins and the Trojans going to the Big Ten and having the seasons that they're having. It's the Battle of LA, Rage Against the Machine style is going to be outstanding. The fact that Wisconsin fired Paul Chryst, I didn't think they'd actually do it, but they did. Um, Nebraska finally cutting ties. It's not really surprising. It just should
Well,
have
Coach,
happened.
you're giving us all the stories. Name one. Give me one.
Oh, okay, I'm just narrowing some things down, I guess. um, I'm gonna go with Kansas. That's the
Kansas.
one that stood
Okay.
out the most to me. Kansas being good, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Kansas, and I think by extension though, Coach, what you're talking about in the Big 12, Josh, to me, the story of the season that the Big 12 has actually been the most interesting conference top to bottom all season. They have wild upsets. You know, if Quinn Ewers stays healthy, Texas, I think, has a really good shot at beating Alabama. We've seen what he's done since then, right? Ewers is a darn good
Mhm.
quarterback. Oklahoma has completely imploded. You know, Oklahoma State is undefeated yet again, and they've got this huge matchup now with TCU this weekend. Kansas has been everyone's darling. Kansas State has looked awesome at times with Adrian Martinez. It's wild out in the wild west of the Big 12, and I think that's been one of the most fun things just to sort of sit back and watch from afar.
Yeah, and I would talk about Kansas and the Big 12, but I've got some Big 12 stuff later in the show. So I'm going to go with a different story that has caught my eye, and it is the state of just firing coaches much sooner than the in the past. It makes sense with the NIL situation, the transfer
Early
portal,
signing
the
periods and stuff.
early signing period. Yeah, you can't get behind, and we've seen teams be really quick with their trigger, and some of them rightfully so. I mean, Scott Frost, we knew was a dead man walking, but you saw Rutgers dump their offensive coordinator. You saw Indiana dump their offensive line coach. Boise State dumped their offensive coordinator. It's a really interesting thing, and I don't want to turn into Herbie, who was bemoaning it and being like, "Woe is me for these multimillionaires," especially Scott Frost being paid millions of dollars to get out of town. I'm not doing woe is me. It's just something interesting, and as a fan and as a podcaster for this sport, it's definitely a new wrinkle that did not exist when I was growing up, and really didn't exist until the last few seasons, with this year being kind of on steroids with all the early firings.
Meanwhile, the ripple stops at Iowa City.
Yeah. Oh my God. Ugh.
All right, well let's talk about some of all the things that are going on in the coaching world, because we've talked about these early firings, right? We've had Paul Chryst at Wisconsin, we've had Scott Frost at Nebraska, we've had Carl Durrell at Colorado. We've Who else have we had so far? I know we've had two more that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, because it feels like my head is spinning all the time for these jobs. Um, but is this? I mean, who's the next coach fired? Who's the next guy that's going to be fired? My money's on Brian Harsin.
Yeah, if they had
Yeah.
an AD, he would have already been gone.
So,
Yeah.
so if it's not that, then who is it?
I mean, I still think maybe it's Brian Harsin. I think the
No.
president's going to have his. The president's probably up to here, and I think one more embarrassing game for Harsin. I think it's going to be him.
Josh?
I think it is him for sure. I mean, after him, there's really not a clear cut. You gotta fire him. I mean, Neil Brown seat is definitely hot, but West Virginia hasn't imploded yet. Scott Satterfield's actually
Dana
picking up
Holgerson.
some wins. Yeah, I mean Dana Holgerson, I think coming back. at Memphis saved his job. I think he
Yes,
was done after that.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, like, Houston's 3-3, 1-1 in conference. It's not over for them. I think it's hard to fire someone at 3-3, 1-1, and for Holgerson too. I mean, he literally just signed an extension, so his buyout is much larger than it was this time a year ago. So I think it's Harrison. I honestly think what Auburn is doing is just making sure they have their ducks in the row and know who they're getting. I think they're almost going to do a USC thing where they had Lincoln Riley in place, even though Lincoln Riley was finishing out his season in Oklahoma, because Auburn can't have another coaching search like they did that yielded Harrison.
Do you think it's Coach Prime?
Well, speaking of
I
Coach
don't
Prime,
know if
did you see what happened between him and Eddie Robinson Jr.? No relation this past weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
so I think no. I think I
who's swag?
Yeah, who's more swag than me? Well, I mean, it's not us. We are not swag. The three of us, not swag. Clearly not swag. But
Clearly not.
I hope Coach Prime sticks around. I want Coach Prime to become swag, like to become the most swag. And I love Coach Prime's response that, when was the last time your stadium sold out? It was because they came to town, because Jackson State came to town and rolled them. So, but speaking of that, let's talk about, I want to keep talking about coaches before we get into like teams in the bigger picture. Biggest surprise for a first-year head coach of their program, either in a good way or a bad way. Josh, I'll let you lead off with that.
Yeah, I'm going with Sonny Dykes. He was, successful everywhere he's been, but not necessarily like lighting the world on fire. And when TCU got him, we were kind of like, well, that's the safe hire. That's a good way to stay, 8-4, 9-3. But I think we lost sight of just how good he is at coaching quarterback talent. And Max Dugan was a quarterback with talent that just hadn't really been unleashed, and Sonny Dykes is unleashing that. They're 5-0. They're finding ways to win. They're a fun, exciting team to watch, and I'm very, very pleasantly surprised. I didn't think it was a bad hire. I just didn't think it was a very sexy hire. But hey, when you're 5-0 in your debut season, that's some nice returns.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the bad end, it's got to be how things have unfolded for Brent Venables right across the way there. It's gone from bad to worse to ugly, and it's gonna. They play Kansas this weekend, who's red hot. Yeah, and then also Mario Cristobal. I'm not surprised by Brian Kelly. I think it's usually for him. It's usually worse before it gets better. LSU's roster was depleted for their standards. I'm not really surprised by him or Billy Napier. They're not the worst team in the league. They're just kind of meh, which is year one with depleted rosters. Not surprising whatsoever. I think Napier's doing a really good job at Florida with what he has. He doesn't have much. He's doing a really good job of piecing that thing together. So, impressed a little bit by him. Not real sure Rhett Lashley what he's been doing, but Lincoln Riley's debut at USC has been a success so far. I mean, he's had not a ton to work with either.
Just half of Oklahoma's roster.
Yeah,
yeah. But plus Oregon's best running back, and the Rating Bolitnikoff Award winner who transferred from Pitt, right before the season. Little things. The only three talented players on Colorado's roster, those kind of things. No. So let's speaking
spoken
of
like a true Bruin.
Hey, you know what? Let's talk about not unpleasant surprises. I picked it. I picked UCLA, and I feel really good about that preseason.
I think we all did.
Well, as we should. I think we either all picked UCLA or
I picked Utah.
Yeah, I thought Coach picked Utah. But either way, that was a preseason pick I was proud of. One I was not proud of was I picked Houston to go undefeated. Yeah, that did not turn out so well. So, Coach, what is one
Hey,
preseason?
my Air Force pick is hanging by a thread.
Yeah, Coach, what is one preseason pick that you made that was completely, totally wrong?
Utah in the playoff.
Utah in the playoff. I mean, I have
Boise,
NC State in the playoff. I mean, that
Boise
technically.
State is division champs. Um, that one was laughable. Who did I have in the Big 12? I think I had Baylor in the Big 12, which
Josh
there's
and I had K State, I think, and I mean, like the Big 12 is so wild. The Big 12 is so
Mhm.
much fun this season. It's the exact opposite of the Big 10 West, which is
who
like a conference that
who did I pick in the Big 10 West? Did I pick Wisconsin? I think I picked Wisconsin.
you
I think
did.
you guys picked Wisconsin. I
We both
did
picked Wisconsin,
Minnesota.
and Josh picked Minnesota. I remember that very.
As he sips his beer, he's like, "Yeah, I picked Minnesota.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
it doesn't matter. It's Ohio State's conference to win anyway."
well, let's look forward. Is it Ohio State's championship to win? Are those going to be? Well, no. Well, actually, let's hold that for the end. We'll hold that. We'll hold that for a little bit later.
Yeah.
Most intrigued. You're talking about, well, if Big Ten's a given with Ohio State, what's the other? What are the other? What's the other most? That's not intriguing. What's the most intriguing title race to you guys, Josh? I'll let you go first.
Well, least interesting is the ACC because just the Coastal it's just like the Big Ten. The Coastal can't get out of its own way. So, assuming Clemson doesn't stumble to the finish line, they'll take on who? North Carolina. They're leading the Coastal right now. Coach's beloved Yellow Jackets. They're second in the division right now at 2-1. For
That's
me, the
freaking
most
nuts.
intriguing for me, the most intriguing title race is I'm actually going to jump to our old friends, the American. You have Cincinnati, the reigning king. They're 2-0. They're nationally ranked, 2-0 in conference, 5-1 overall. But they have a whole really interesting chase pack behind them. You have Tulane with Willie Fritz, who we've always loved, putting everything together. They're 5-1, 2-0. You have the Gus Bus 4-1, 1-0. You have Memphis, who is a few seconds away from being 5-1, 3-0 in conference till that crazy Houston game. You have weirdly Navy, who has looked atrocious at times this year, hanging in the conference at 2-1. So it's Cincinnati and then a big old who knows who's going to rise up. And then once you get into that title game, yeah, Cincinnati is clearly the best team, but this is not quite last year where they are, 15 times better. The Pack's caught up a little bit with with Cincinnati and the American. So I'm super excited to see who survives all this carnage to meet the Bearcats in the title game.
Well, staying in the group of five, I mean, the SEC Juniors, Sun Belt, that's going to be a really fun
Fun
race.
Belt.
The Fun Belt. James Madison, 3-0 in conference, 5-0 overall.
Ineligible.
Ineligible.
I
that's
know.
that's the crappy part. But looking at this, obviously my preseason pick.
It's one of the stupidest rules. Sorry, I was just gonna say it's
Mhm.
one of the stupidest rules because, like, I get it. You don't want Alabama being like, "Oh, let's drop down to D2 and win a million titles." So it makes sense if you drop down, but James Madison's already working at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Why do they need a transition year? It's freaking stupid.
They obviously don't need a transition year.
Honestly, if I was a bowl game, if I was a bowl game, I would just pick James Madison and tell the NCAA to kiss my ass and see what's the NCAA going to do.
There goes our clean rating. Nothing.
That's fine. ASS is fine.
It's
Come on.
100% fine on the Matt Perkins rating censorship system that this goes under. So
Yeah. I said crap today in class, and one of my students is like, "You swore," and I'm like, "Crap ain't a swear word."
you teach at a Catholic school, Josh. The rules are different.
If you can say it on,
No, they're
I
really not.
always say if you can. This will give away what class I teach. If you can say it on network television at 7 p.m., it's not a bad word.
I agree with that. That's a pretty standard go of things. I think I just
Mhm.
want to throw a quick bone to the MAC and Buffalo in
Whoa,
particular.
Yeah.
whoa! I was still going on the Sun Belt there.
Okay. Go on then. Go on with your
Yeah,
bad
my
self
my
in the
pre
Fun Belt.
my preseason pick, Coastal Carolina, them dogs. Um, they had the dog in them. Um,
Not cats.
Coastal Carolina,
Meow.
not cats. Yeah, they're 3-0. James Madison 3-0 in conference. The Chanticleers are 6-0 overall. The Sun Belt West is going to be very interesting. There's a log jam, and I think everyone not named Louisiana has a chance. Right now, South Alabama leads that thing. They're 4-1 overall, 1-0 in conference. Troy is sitting there at 2-1. Texas State is 1-1. Those are probably your three front runners for the Sun Belt West. It ought to be a fun race in that division, but Coastal's really just going to win the whole thing, and it'll be a shame if James Madison wins the conference and can't go to a bowl game.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to just make a quick Mac shout out to Buffalo, who I picked to finish second to last in the East. And they are making me look stupid because they have basically doubled up their opponents in conference. They're 3-0 in conference. They've won their last three games by combined 112 to 58. They put up a 50 burger on an Eastern Michigan team, which was supposed to be pretty solid. They beat the brakes off of Bowling Green. Kudos to them. I did not expect much out of them this year, and they have really bounced back after a rough start to the season. Um, so moving forward with this, sort of who has been the most disappointing team in the country, and I will start. Um, I will start with that one, and for me, it's got to be Oklahoma. Even with the coaching change, I expected just the talent level that they had with that they just haven't lost. They have so much more talent than everyone else, except for maybe Texas, and we all know that with Steve Sarkisian as a coach, it's going to be a crapshoot. And Oklahoma to me has been the biggest disappointment. Yes, the game with Texas is obviously like things changed a little bit because they didn't have Dylan Gabriel for that one. They were throwing whatever against the pan, but it just it didn't work 2 weeks before that with Dylan Gabriel. And that's what's really concerning is that they just have no semblance of an offense and the defense, can't stop a nosebleed.
Yeah, my biggest disappointment is a tough one because we've got an attachment to them here on the show, and my boy Mitch, when he's listening to this, is not going to enjoy this. But for me, it's Arkansas. All the pieces were there. Offensively, they started to get banged up a little bit, which I said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It probably won't happen." I brought up all those Tim Tebow stats. They got to 10th in the country, and then just something happened. The meltdown against Texas A&M bled over into just a no-show against Arkansas, other than a magical third quarter
I
that brought them
believe
back
I can
into
fly.
it. And then the wheels really
I
came off
believe I can
at
touch
Mississippi
the sky.
State, and to go from top 10 to out of the polls to tricky game coming up in Provo. Then a road trip to Auburn, which I mean, Auburn's weird. Stuff always gets messy with Auburn. Um, then they play a Liberty team that's been pretty good right now as an independent. Then their rivalry game with Arkansas. Then or LSU. Then they host a really good Mississippi team. It's just a shame. It's a season, a breakthrough season from all appearances a few weeks ago to now. What is this team? Are they going to make a bowl game? What the heck happened? So Arkansas is my biggest disappointment.
Perfect. Nailed that one. Um, I'm good. I got two. Two have really disappointed me. One because I put a lot of preseason faith in them, and that's the U under Mario Cristobal. Second to last in the Coastal, a god awful division. They're 0-2 at 0-2 in the division. They got pimp slapped by MTSU.
Who's
Coach,
now
I
terrible
don't
again.
think I don't think you can say that at 7 p.m. on network television. You cannot put those two words together in consecutively.
Well,
Nah, you
we're
can't
not
on Blue
seven. We're
Bloods.
not
I
at
bet
7
Donnie
p.m. on.
Wahlberg said it.
I mean, okay, it's probably been said on SVU. So
Yeah, probably so. But we're not at 7 p.m. on ABC. So until then, clean rating.
I bet Jerry Orbach said it in an old Law and Order episode.
I bet Jerry Orbach said it when he was in vaudeville.
And Big Blue Nation also. Kentucky has disappointed me a bit.
I'm giving
Got
them a
beat at home
TBA
against South
until Will
Carolina.
Levis is back.
Yeah, 100% agree on that one. Okay, spinning it forward. If you had to put your awards ballot in right now for a couple different awards, we will start with the Nagurski, the Defensive Player of the Year. Who is your Bednarik, Nagurski, whatever you want to call it? Who is your Nagurski Award winner right now, Josh?
Can I just give it to the Iowa defense for keeping us afloat? And the only reason we even have 3 wins at this point, am I allowed to do that, or is that too much of a homer pick?
That's too much of a homer pick and has to go to a single person.
I'll yield the floor to Coach for a moment then, because I just wanted to give it to the Iowa players.
Who's the best defensive player in the country, Coach?
I mean, it's until further notice, it's still Will Anderson. Just the impact that he has on teams and single handedly keeping Alabama in games. I still think it's Will Anderson right now.
Okay, I want to make a quick. Arkansas's had a bad season. Drew Sanders has been incredible. Drew Sanders has been maybe the best linebacker in the country. He's on my short list. Laitu Leitu on UCLA, also at linebacker, has been outstanding, as has Will Anderson. I think raw talent alone, obviously it's Will Anderson by a mile, but I wanted to give a special shout out to those two guys. Both of whom also happen to be transfers. So let's go, Josh.
I was just gonna say, if I were to give a real answer, he probably won't win an award, but Kansas State's Felix Anudike Uzoma, second in the nation right now in 6.5 sacks from his defensive end slot, just disrupting things in the Big 12.
Yeah,
He's
remember he had like a
reason
5-sack game last year too. Yeah, he's a super productive player.
Yeah, he he's a pretty big disruptor there for K-State, and if their defense continues to do well, he's a big reason why.
I like that one. Okay, Heisman Trophy. Who's taking home the hardware right now for you, Coach?
Spencer Petrus. Spencer Petrus. Spencer petrified us.
He's taking home whatever the Razzie equivalent of whatever the Heisman Razzie is. Spencer Petrus gets.
Yeah, I mean, right now the front runner's Hendon Hooker. I mean, the guy is producing right now. I
disagree that he is the front runner, but okay.
I mean, who else? CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams.
CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
It's CJ Stroud to me.
Bo Nix. Bo Nix is
DTR
relaxed and having fun.
Hey, listen,
DTR baby.
DTR is not a bad choice at all.
If I guarantee you, if Tennessee beats Alabama and Hendon Hooker has a big game, his name will be
everything. But that changes everything. But that hasn't happened yet, and I'm still dubious that they can take down Alabama.
We'll see. It'll be November 5th. Will be really scary if they do take down Bama.
That'll be the game. But then that becomes the game of the year.
That's when they play Georgia.
Yeah, duh. Yeah. I mean, I think we can. I think enough of us can read between the lines at this point. Josh, you also going with
it's not Stet Quavius anymore.
It's not.
No, I had Hendon Hooker with a little asterisk saying if they beat Alabama, if they do this. But who's delivering right now? CJ Stroud's delivering right now, and from what Michigan has looked like here the last few weeks against Iowa and Indiana and Maryland, Ohio State as of now would be very big favorites, at least 2 touchdown favorites against Michigan. So if everything goes according to plan, he would have quite the Heisman argument because he'll have the stats and the team success.
Yeah, and okay, so for some reason my I've gone blurry for a second, but while we sort that out, um,
This is what you would look like if the viewer had 14 beers.
or if I did, maybe, or if they're
This
trying to
is
like
this
mask
is
my identity for some sort of like weird for like, to,
this
like
is how Brian Ferentz sees the field.
well, no wonder. No, this is how Spencer Petras sees the field.
Hey man, I'm not gonna rag on Spencer Petras. His coaches have let him down,
No,
and
it's
they
true.
make him go out and do a press conference after every freaking game, and Brian Ferentz never has to. It's a joke. I direct all my ire at the Ferentzes. Spencer Petras is a stand-up guy. I wish nothing but the best for him once his playing days are done. He'll probably be like an insurance salesman or something, and hopefully has a nice wife and kids. But yeah,
You can never blame the players on that stuff.
no,
A lot of times.
no, it's systemic rot from inside.
Yeah, well, Wisconsin seems to be at least trying to cure that rot, even though you're replacing
Yeah.
rot by another Badger alum. But I guess it feels a little bit different. Anyway, speaking of either a coordinator who's ascending,
Jimmy's a lot better.
well, Jimmy's also about to become the permanent head coach. If they have offense like that again, Graham Mertz now the only Wisconsin quarterback in history to have 2 5-touchdown games. Which either Group of 5 coach or Power 5 coordinator has earned himself a big boy head coaching job for next season, Josh?
Okay, I want to give an honorable mention before I give a serious answer, because you framed it as Group of 5 or coordinator. It's been a long time since we've had a truly successful FCS to FBS coaching hire. Craig Bowles had, a long career at Wyoming, didn't quite get them over the hump. We've had some major misfires. Bobby Hauck, when he was at UNLV, was a disaster. But the Lance Leopold system, if you can find a guy who built a program from scratch, is somebody that I think you would want to look at. And there's someone down currently in the FCS ranks that I really, really like for having him build your program, and that's Jay Hill at Weber State. So, for those of you that don't know Jay Hill, first of all, you're getting a coach who right now is 47 years old. So, if it works out, you're talking about 15 to 20 years with this guy if it works out. So,
Colorado, you
what
listening?
has he built? Yeah. So, what has he built? Well, uh, Weber State, we know them being successful now, but they fell under some hard times. Back in 2013, they went 2-10. Back in 2012, they went 2-9, and then they fired their coach and they bring in Jay Hill. So 2014 is his first year, 2-10. Then he improves it to 6-5. Then he improves it to 7-5, but 6-2 in conference, good enough for an at-large bid in the tournament. And then 17, 18, 19, and 20 won the conference all straight years. Last year, a little dip to 6-5, but 5-3 in conference, still playing pretty good ball in the conference. This year, they're on fire. They're undefeated. They're 5-0. They just had a big win against Eastern Washington. He's built Weber State into one of the best programs in FCS. And if it wasn't for North Dakota State or James Madison's dynasty, I think Weber State would have had a title at one point during this incredible run he's had. So Jay Hill's a guy that I'm looking at. To circle back to your real question, I think we're all going to have the same answer. Gentleman who currently is coaching quite well down at Myrtle Beach with Coastal Carolina, Jamie Chantwell. I don't know how you don't go with him. I think he's the A+ answer
Can you get
to that
Grayson
question,
McCall to
Matt.
come along with him?
I know Matt's answer.
I mean, Jim Leonard.
Well,
I didn't know if that one counted.
No, it doesn't count. It doesn't
that
actually
it doesn't count.
It doesn't
I
actually
know
count,
your
no.
answer.
No, I'm curious to know my answer.
Sean Lewis.
Of course it's Sean Lewis. Come on now. Of course it's Sean Lewis, guys. You
Kent
know
Lewis, Penn
this.
State.
Dude. Sean Lewis, if let's put it this way. If Jim Leonard didn't exist, Sean Lewis would be the next head coach of the Wisconsin Badgers. Hell, he might be the coach right now of the Wisconsin Badgers.
Instead, he's going to go to he's going to go to the Huskers.
Oh God, that would kill me. Corey, I hadn't. Okay, no, he's not. He's not. They wouldn't. They don't think he's big time enough for them. They're gonna big time him. He's going to get hired. No. I hope like Colorado. He could go to Colorado and turn that thing around. He could absolutely go to Colorado and turn that thing around.
Yeah, he could.
I really think Nebraska's coaching search is 2 names right now, and that's it. I think it's, does Mickey Joseph keep this going and get us to a bowl game? And if he doesn't, we are backing up the truck for Matt Rule.
Yep.
He's he ticks all the boxes for what they want. Big name hire. You're trying to capture that old Pete Carroll magic of the NFL coach who flamed out, but he's good in college. I think Matt Rule is the name, and if it goes past Mickey and Matt Rule, everyone's guess is as good as mine, because I have no idea where Nebraska goes at that point.
I don't agree with this one, but I think Bill O'Brien will be a name to watch out for.
We said him a few weeks ago, but honestly, the way Alabama's offense looks, I think a lot of that shine has come off for people, and that's a hard sell for a lot of programs now.
Yeah, I know, but I still think it'll be. There's some program out there that's going to be like, yeah, we're going to hire Bill O'Brien. He's been in the NFL. He's,
Yes, that's correct. There is going to be a program out there, or as you just said, a program out there. That does. And that program in about 30 months is going to be very much regretting that decision.
Yeah.
Very much regretting that decision. So, with that, let's talk about financial decisions that actually, if you listen to us, you probably won't regret. You're sitting about 500. What are you going to say?
There we go. Oh, you just had a question on our rundown.
Not if you took our preseason picks, though.
Go for it, Josh. Well, we ran over, so I cut things, but go quickly.
That's fine. That's fine. It was just one question of anything else you want to talk about. Circling back to the game I was at, I got the privilege of seeing Chase Brown in person. For those of you that haven't seen much Illinois football, which, like, why would you? It is Illinois. They've been down for a while, but Illinois is
they're giving you a reason to watch
and ranked, and their defense is incredible. But Chase Brown, he's the nation's leading rusher right now. He's at 879 yards halfway through the season. And let's just say they got some defenses that he can rack up some yards against. Nebraska, Michigan State, Northwestern. 2,000 yards is not out of the question just quite yet. Keep an eye on Chase Brown.
And does Sean Payton become the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers?
This is not the Legal Motion Cowboys NFL podcast, sir. So we need to move into our spread formations. Last week, everyone went 2-3 on the season. Josh and I are both 21-15. Coach is 19-17, which means if you're betting with us, guess what? You're betting in the black, and that is a good place to be. Let's start with the game of the weekend. We already referenced it. Alabama at Tennessee. Alabama is a 7-point favorite on the road. Volunteer Navy in full effect this weekend, Coach. But it is Josh first on the lines this week. The over-under in this one is 65. Josh, what play do you like here?
Well, Bama screwed me last week. I had them. Yeah, I had them winning big, and They didn't. In fact, they tried to lose. If it wasn't for I don't even know what what they ran there at the end. Little concerns creeping in for Alabama. Bill O'Brien we just talked about. He's really struggling to uh, have 4 quarters of reliable offense. 3 road trips so far this season. Texas could have, maybe even should have lost. Texas A&M. Sorry, that was not a road game. I thought it was for some reason. But anyways, they still could have, should have lost.
Bama don't play
Arkansas,
road games.
just yeah, Arkansas. Despite the final score, they were in a real dogfight with that crazy third quarter that Arkansas had. This is a growing trend. I mean, you look at their wins; they dominate Utah State, they dominate UL Monroe, they dominate Vanderbilt. They have not looked like a crisp product against SEC caliber opponents. Tennessee, this is their biggest game since what Peyton Manning was there. They are going to be bonkers. They are feeling it.
Well,
Heupel
I
has
think
this
I
thing
think T.
humming.
Martin would like something to say about that. I mean, he did win a national championship after Peyton Manning
I
left.
know.
First time
but,
this will be the first time they beat opponents since 1998.
yeah. I think Tennessee's having that breakthrough season. I'm drinking the water down there in Knoxville. I'm taking the points because I actually think the Vols do the thing, the upset,
This is
and
going to kill
ruin
me,
Coach's
Matt.
weekend.
This is going to kill me, but I agree. In the immortal words of Larry Munson, it's going to be worse than bonkers. It's gonna be the atmosphere. The atmosphere for the Ole Miss Tennessee game a year ago with Lane Kiffin was worse than bonkers. Now multiply that by about 10 because Tennessee's actually in the top 10. And this is one of their most bitter, hated rivals. Third Saturday in October. It's going to be insane. I don't know that Alabama's ready for that, surprisingly enough. I think Tennessee pulls the upset here.
The only
I hate to say it,
okay,
but I think they do.
I'm going with the under on this one. I think it.
Oh, it'll definitely go under.
So that is like the only thing I believe in this game is the under, because you could tell me that Tennessee wins and I would 1,000% believe you, but I believe that they would win like 20, like the 24-20 type of game, right?
Do you believe?
Like, do I believe? Look what I'm rocking right now, Coach. Huh? What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
I'm a believer.
As a someone who's wed into a Vanderbilt family, I am legally bound to not pick Tennessee. So moving on in the SEC,
I'm a bulldog. I'm Brett. I'm supposed to hate like 6 teams.
As an owner of a coonhound, I have to have a soft spot for Smokey and Rocky Top.
Well, there you go. Okay, Mississippi State is a 7-point favorite on the road at Kentucky. All signs pointing to Will Levis playing this weekend. Report out of practice today says he's coming along well. So he did practice today. So that is a good sign for Kentucky. Looks like Levis is going to be in the game. Over under 46 in this one, Josh.
Yeah, even though he's playing and suited up, we don't know the health percentage. I am going to go with the team that is firing on all cylinders right now. I'm walking the plank. I'm taking the pirate. I'm hunkering down with some barnacles or whatever pirate talk you want to have. This will eventually blow up in my face because that's what Mississippi State and that's what the pirate does. But I'm gonna ride the crazy train for another week and have the Bulldogs covering this as road favorites.
Like Ozzy Osbourne, I'm coming down the rail on a crazy train here. I think the Pirate is going to implode at some point, but that point is not this week. I think Kentucky is reeling a little bit after their loss to South Carolina. They get back Will Levis, but coming back from injury, how does he respond? Does he respond like Sam Hartman, who came back from injury, threw 4 touchdown passes against Vandy, or is this defense too much? I think Mississippi State's on a roll right now. Give me
Yeah.
the Bulldogs.
Um, Even if he's not 100%, I would still take Mississippi State, but even then, I'm still just gonna take the under, man. I don't I like Kentucky's defense still. And I think that Mississippi State to me, man, just it feels like I'd rather be. I guess I'm gonna be a week early to the bet, and I'm just taking the fact that I think that the Pirates gonna trip up because I've been rooting for him to win too many times, and he's bit me in the butt too many times. I'm just like trying to not get hurt. Either way, I'm taking the under on this one. Moving to the Big Ten, Penn State at Michigan. Michigan 6.5 point favorite at home. Big matchup. Basically, who is going to be the number 2 team in the Big Ten East when it all settles down? Josh, over under is 52.5. What do you like?
Well, Maryland was not too far away from upsetting Michigan. Iowa was a few plays, believe it or not, away from making that game really interesting in the fourth quarter. They failed to convert a 4th and 2 to potentially cut the lead to 7 in the fourth quarter, and Indiana gave Michigan all they can handle. Something is not right in Michigan. What I broke down is JJ McCarthy is just really struggling on third down. Several incompletions, had several really short throws, like on a 3rd and 11, just threw like a 3-yard pass play. He's struggling right now on third down. And as a result, Michigan's offense has kind of been stuck in neutral. And this is against Indiana. This is against Maryland. They're doing this. I'm taking the points because Penn State, I think it'll be a very close game, 3-4 point game. But I also think Penn State has a decent chance, maybe, 30-40% to pull off the upset. Kind of an interesting thing, though, Franklin's record after the bye week the last few years hasn't been very impressive, except in 2017, after their bye week, a win over Michigan. So they've had a bye week. They've had a long time to stew about that pathetic Northwestern performance in the driving rain. Give me the points.
Coach, you seem entranced.
I am entranced. No, this one's intriguing. Penn State, Michigan. I think Michigan, they struggled, but a lot of it was noon kick. Indiana probably not up for that one at all. Finally woke up and decided to win that game, but this one's a much bigger atmosphere. They're hosting Penn State at home. I think the atmosphere is going to be really good in Ann Arbor, and I like Michigan -6.5.
All right, going yet again with the under. I don't love either of these offenses. So under 52.5 feels like a pretty safe bet to me.
It's my money, and I'll spend it if I want.
Okay, spend it. Spend it, baby. And also, you're gonna have to spend it here on Minnesota, 6.5 point favorites on the road at ranked Illinois. Over under 39.5. Gotta love the Big Ten West, Josh.
Yeah, Minnesota getting those points because Mo Ibrahim is supposed to be back and healthy. I'm going to actually take the under because there's a really big X factor in this game. Tommy DeVito's ankle for Illinois
Huge.
got hurt against Iowa. Without him, Illinois played extremely conservative. If he's
Sikowski
not
still
going to go,
can't do anything.
yeah, if he doesn't go in this game, it's going to be a low scoring game. Even with him there, Illinois' bread and butter is to burn a lot of clock with their ground game. Minnesota also eats up the clock a lot. So I think the under is a really safe bet. The spread I would stay away from because without knowing DeVito's status, you just don't know what Illinois is going to do in that one. So give me the under.
Yeah, I'm gonna be bold here. Bold with a capital B, control B here. I'm going to take Illinois and to cover this. Illinois is on a roll, dude. I don't know what it is about them, but Bielema's got them playing hard. They're playing physical, scoring a whole lot of points, but defensively, I think they can stand up. I like Illinois to at least cover if they don't win.
I'm with Josh on this one. Just give me the under. Another low scoring game. I'm all on the unders this week. I don't know what it is. I'm feeling low scoring here as the weather gets a little bit colder. In the ACC, NC State is headed to Syracuse. This is a ranked versus ranked matchup. That's wild. Syracuse is a favorite against NC State.
Speaking of pleasant surprises,
wild. By 3.5. The over under is a meager 44. Josh, how do you feel about this one?
Same exact logic with Leary's status up in the air. I'm going to play the percentages and go with the defenses in these games and say this one also stays under.
Coach,
if Nick Leary is in, I'm taking the over.
if Nick Leary is in, I'm going to be very concerned.
The cousin of Dennis Leary.
It's Dennis Leary.
Yeah, Dennis Leary, who's he's the coach of he's the head coach of the Cleveland Browns and also starting quarterback of the NC State Wolfpack. Now, if Leary is in,
Devin Leary is playing, I will be very happy with the Wolfpack. If Devin Leary is playing, I'm taking the Wolfpack
yes.
plus 3.5 all day long. So
yeah, but we don't know if he is or not. So I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna go with Josh here. I'm gonna take the under.
Clean sweep on the under just because of Leary. Oklahoma State is headed to TCU in a top 10 matchup in the Big 12. Well, is TCU top 10 or are they 11? I can't. No, UCLA is 11.
I think they're 13.
Either way, it is two of the teams at the top of the Big 12 are facing off in Fort Worth, Texas. 3.5 point favorites at home are the Horned Frogs. Over under 69.5. Shout out to my cousin Douglas, who is a senior at TCU right now. He is beside himself, considering how well the Horned Frogs are playing. So, Josh, with that, who have you got?
Yeah, I think the path for Oklahoma State is multifaceted. They've found themselves in some shootouts like the Texas Tech game. They won. Found themselves in some defensive, tighter type games like the Baylor game. I just think the Cowboys are a more complete team. I love everything Sonny Dykes is doing. I talked about him at the top of the show. But I think much like how Kansas just didn't quite have their usual magic in the spotlight, TCU is going to not quite have their usual magic in the spotlight. I'm going to ride the Cowboys. And I'm also getting 4 points, which I kind of like because I actually think they win outright.
Ho! TCU is red hot. Max Duggan, I think, is going to take over this game, man. Give me the Horned Frogs. That's Hacksaw Max Duggan.
Hacksaw Max Duggan. Coach, I'm not touching this over-under because you could tell me that this game ends 55-52. It'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. You could also tell me that it ends like 25-24. So, with that being said, like Josh said, Oklahoma State's a more complete team. Sorry, Douglas. I'm going with the Pokes on this one. Let's finish off in the Pac-12 after dark. USC at Utah. Utah's a 3-point favorite at home, despite the fact that Utah is the undefeated team. That USC is the undefeated team, I should say. But their offense has not looked the best the last couple weeks. Over under in this one, 65, Josh.
Yeah, I've been fading USC all season. I promise you it will pay off at some point. Keep pulling the lever. They just do not play good enough defense. They've had too many stretches of sloppy play for my liking. I will take the home team, even though they're worse record and worse ranking.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's not a good matchup for USC. They struggled a little bit against Washington State. They've kind of been up and down. Utah's a physical team, and I think you'll see a preview of what UCLA will do to USC by watching this Utah game. So give me the Utes.
Give me the Utes under. The under. I want the under. I 65 is way too high for this game for me.
So you're saying parlay of Utes in the under. Got it.
I mean, honestly, yeah. But if I'm choosing just one, I'm taking the under.
Are we not doing the Colorado bit anymore?
I thought about it, but it wasn't even that interesting of a line. It was Cal was a 14-point favorite at Colorado. It's like not even fun when
a 3-2 Cal team is a 2-touchdown road favorite.
Okay, go.
It's kind of unusual.
I get
Cal.
The Cal team rolls and wins and covers.
Okay. Coach, you agree with that?
Matt, we got
I mean,
Cal
it's down on the list.
Colorado.
Yeah. Matt, we got to prop up
fest.
our picks as much as possible and pick easy games to help our numbers out.
Those aren't always the easiest ones. Weird things happen sometimes with those gigantic spreads, but it's not gigantic enough in this one, and I think that's the point.
They are this year because Colorado is mainlining 0-12 as fast as possible.
The hilarious spread is Vandy is 38.5 point dogs to the Dogs.
Only
Yeah.
38.5? Are you kidding me? Are you
Only.
kidding me?
I'm surprised you didn't want to include the Kansas game, Matt. Oklahoma's 9-point favorites.
Jalen Daniels is out for the year. Well, which he's refuting, but dude, their offense did not work nearly as well once he went out against. I'm sorry, and I'm just not interested in that game at all. I only had time to get the best games of the weekend.
Whoa! You're slagging on my man Bean?
A little bit.
Judge Bean, Mr. Bean,
Jelly Bean.
He was their starter for 5-6 games last year.
It's a different team with Jalen Daniels. It's a different team with Jalen Daniels.
Yeah.
It's completely.
He went 18 of 24 with 262 and 4 touchdowns.
He
cold off the bench.
Okay. I mean, you could talk me into that. I don't have it on the rundown because I have no feel in that game, and I will wager $0.000. I wouldn't let even fractions of a penny. I would not wager on this game.
Well,
not worth it.
I think it's a no-brainer. Oklahoma's done. Stick a fork in them.
They're dead.
And here's a crazy notion. Brent Venables goes back to Clemson after 1 year. Howard Stellenberger's it. He would not be the first Oklahoma coach to leave after 1 year.
Yeah, that'd be something.
And Oklahoma fans would celebrate because they're already done with him.
That would
they're out.
They're already out on him, except for I don't want to get into the recruiting crap right now because weirdly they still have they've got the number 4 class in the country right now. I don't know how that's happening, but I know how it's I know how it's happening, but it has nothing to do with Venables. So with that, it's time for us to wrap, gentlemen, on today's 299th edition of the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast.
What are we doing next week for our 300th?
Surprise.
We're going to do the Babe Ruth Challenge. That is the Babe Ruth diet.
Hot dogs?
No. Here, you want to hear Babe Ruth's diet?
Hot dogs. Beer.
So for breakfast, he would have a pint of whiskey mixed with ginger ale, then steak, 4 eggs, fried potatoes, and a pot of coffee. For an afternoon snack, it was 4 hot dogs, each washed down with a bottle of Coca-Cola. He had an early supper and a late supper, each of the same. 2 porterhouse steaks, 2 heads of lettuce, drenched in blue cheese dressing, 2 platefuls of cottage fried potatoes, and 2 fried apple pies. Oh, and between the 2 suppers, he had 4 more hot dogs and 4 more bottles of Coca-Cola.
This is a combo deal you could get at the Iowa State Fair for $11.99.
Yes.
Oh, good grief. Okay. Well, with that, that is going to do it for us here today on the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast. So, on behalf of our own offensive coordinator, the coach Corey Burton here in Nashville, Tennessee, and our intrepid blogger from Big Ten Accounting, Josh Cook, up there in Chicago, Illinois, this is Matt Perkins in the Music City saying so long and see you next time on the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast.